Here?
He lived here, yeah.
Oh, well, that's when I met him. Whenever he lived close by, I just remember.
Yeah.
We used to picnic down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'd walk down. The kids would walk. The really young
Yes.
kids would walk down here and not understand anything the Hob said, but it was still interesting. And then walk back to the clearing. Yeah.
So do you remember Grandma?
Yes. I remember her funeral really vividly. It was the first time I ever saw my dad's bald spot from the back of the church. I'm like, what of all things to remember at a funeral was my dad was starting to go bald in the back of his head. That's all I remember. That was 7th grade, you know.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, of course, you'd always sit next to him, so you'd never...
Exactly. So you don't see the backside from far away, or he'd be wearing a hat, so you just never noticed. And that was the first time I noticed of all the things, like I said, I remember. And like I told you before, it's like I didn't even know Dorothy existed until the day of the funeral. And all the kids were upstairs playing at the Fry house, and I went downstairs for something, and all the adults were talking quietly about Dorothy. Of course, I had big ears back then. I was listening in to hear what was going on, and so it's like, who's Dorothy? You know, but I didn't ask at that point in time because I knew I wasn't supposed to be listening. So, you know, anyway. So I asked your dad about 20 years ago about Dorothy finally, and I got the story from him. But I always had that fascination because nobody would talk about it. And so I didn't know what happened, and just I know it was taboo to talk about it. And so,
For some oddball reason, Ilsa had a copy of the article in the Chillicothe paper about her death. And when I was 70 years old, we were pulling out some other stuff, and she pulled this thing out. I have never seen this.
wow. So did she realize it was your sister?
Oh yeah, I don't know where she had acquired it.
So she knew it was your sister when she acquired it, or it was just she happened to have both? Okay.
I mean, she,
Because
it was
you
no
didn't know
secret.
each other, right? You didn't know each other when it all went down, so...
I was 6 weeks old.
Wow, really?
It all happened in 1943.
Okay.
How shall I say, the tornado, the fire, and my birth, all in 43.
What tornado did take out the...
Well, it apparently took out the barn, and that's the barn they rebuilt.
And that's the same barn that burned then. And you were born in between the two incidents.
As I understand it.
Right.
Those seem like omens.
Very stressed out.
Those seem like omens.
She told me that they were, well, apparently they had a hired hand from Oklahoma. And he recognized, the tornadic signs. Mm-hmm. And so he, got him into the basement. And so she said when they came up out of there, she said that he didn't know if there would be a house there.
Wow. You guys went into the cellar of the house?
I don't know for sure what cellar.
You don't remember that because you weren't born yet, right?
It was not clear to me.
A little cloudy in there.
No windows.
No, you can't see out of the womb.
I'd forgotten about that because I did hear about it. I just didn't realize it was all in the same year. Okay.
So did the newspaper attribute it to, Dad always talked about Gene playing with matches or something, or with both of them.
As I understand it, they went up in the hayloft and they were playing with matches. And so Gene, being older, jumped out the hayloft and landed, on the ground or on something or other. And she was unwilling to do that and went back for the stairs. Didn't make it.
But a hand came in and got her out of the barn, is what Uncle Jim said. Because Uncle Jim and Dad were at Grandma and Grandpa's house. That is where Aunt Marie lives now, working at the farm that day. So Grandpa, my dad, and Uncle Jim weren't home at the time that it happened. That's what your dad said.
Well, I thought Dad was at work.
Yeah, he wasn't home, that's all I know. I thought he was at the house.
I don't know. I guess I'd never heard, where Jim and Don were.
Yeah, they weren't home. They were at the house.
Yeah, because Jim would have been 10. And Don about 8. And Gene was around 7.
How old was Dorothy?
Dorothy was 5.
It flew away already.
Yeah, they got right there. I missed it all because I was up at the range. I was up in LaSalle. So I was just north of it. I was watching the radar. It's like huge
Yeah.
mass going just south. It's like we got a little.
So you want to pump me for anything else?
Sorry, I can't ask Dad those questions anymore. And those were questions that you think about things when it's too late. And those were some of those questions that, like Uncle Jim, because he had Alzheimer's. So honestly, even though he's been gone almost 6 years, for the last 4 before that, I couldn't ask him any of those questions. And so Uncle Jim had come over for one of those times when I was back, and I asked him those questions. So. And same thing, like we tried to find a house in Henry when Dad was kind of lucid still. So we tried to drive Dad by that house that was in Chillicothe, that you go out the cemetery 1 mile and turn right 1 mile or something. And we never found the house. So.
Marie knows where it's at. I do not.
Were you too young to remember the house?
Well, yeah, we moved here in 44.
Okay.
And we bought this farm from his sister Agnes because George wanted to move back to Wisconsin.
Baseball bat.
And so even though he had promised Grandpa that he would stay in Illinois, which was part of the condition of getting married.
Ah, when he married Agnes, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. So he's from Wisconsin to begin with?
Yes. How shall I say? Grandpa was a rough old gent.
Your grandpa, not my grandpa.
Correct.
His name was Jacob, right?
Reinhardt.
No, Reinhardt.
And since Uncle Reinhardt was the oldest, in the German scheme of things, everything goes to the oldest. And so I think that's one of the reasons that, Dad got married first and moved out. And then Joe, of course, was courting Sweet Alice, and Grandpa would have nothing of it, basically nil. And so Joe, bent overboard and did not get married to Alice. She got married to a fellow by the name of Brown. And so then when Uncle Joe turned 50, Mr. Brown died, and here goes Uncle Joe courting Sweet Alice. And they spent 40 years together.
I know. That's amazing.
It is.
I mean, they could have spent 70 years together. Yeah.
What's that?
He could have been there with Alice for 70 years had Grandpa Reinhardt agreed to the marriage to begin with.
You see things too, don't you?
Yeah, probably. Did I tell you the story that his neighbor told me at Joe's wake? Marie had already moved in there, and so of course, he just loved working outside and everything else, and so eventually they had to, cut him off. He couldn't drive a car anymore, and so eventually they said, "Well, I don't really want you driving the tractor anymore. You ran over my flowers."
Hey, Grandpa.
But, all right, and so so it was fall, and so he was anxious to do something, So he begged for keys to the tractor, and so they
Uncle Joe, right?
Uncle Joe, right? And so Marie says, "All right, but stay away from my flowers." And so he went out there and mowed, and so that piece of ground between the highways, that low ground there, it's basically bottom ground, and so he said, so Marie had asked the neighbor to keep an eye on him. I don't know what, you have to ask Marie that, but at any rate, so after he finished mowing, he says, "I'll put on the plow and plow that lower part down there." And so the neighbor said, "Oh, that'll take him a while to change out the mower and the plow." He says, "All right, go for it." You know. Son of a gun! Quick as a wink, he's there with the plow. And so he goes down there in the bottoms and he plows that whole thing up. Well, it's sticky mud, and so what they do is that they would go over into the creek, which has a sand bottom, to scour the plow.
Oh, okay.
And so he goes up there and he goes into the creek, and the plow gets stuck under a big rock, and he can't go forward, he can't go back. The hydraulic doesn't work. So he crawls off the tractor, goes and finds a neighbor. He says I plow's stuck in the creek, you know. So he goes down there with the neighbor, and now remember the neighbor's telling me this, and so he picks up I think they went down there with the neighbor's tractor, you know.
Okay.
And so then they picked up a chain that was, on the tractor there, a light chain, you know, and said, no, that's not going to do the job. And so they get the chain and get the plow unstuck, you know, and then he leans over to the neighbor and says, "We don't have to tell Marie, do we?"
And of course she found out anyway, huh?
Well, I think she heard the story, but and believe it or not, this is like 6 weeks before he died.
No way. Wow.
Picture 10.
Let's do the picture because we're trying to lose.